Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Nabi Nuh, alayhi salam. Let's talk about Atlantean origin theories. So, in a couple other videos, I mentioned the possibility that maybe Nabi Nuh was a survivor of the Atlantean flood story. You know, like that Atlantis was some kind of a high-tech society that perhaps had jinn and humans living in harmony and sometimes conflict. This could be. This is interesting. I also mentioned something about the jinn. Perhaps the jinn, because they can appear in many different forms, and perhaps we can conceptualize them as a cluster of species. A number of species, some of them which may have origins on this world, perhaps in this world, perhaps beyond this world, in other places. And then some of them had been maybe trapped here as shayateen. And that this is a garden of sorts for us to grow and develop, and and to come into our maturity. And that maybe some of the jinn had issues with this and saw us as unworthy, and they had problems with us, and there was competition, and maybe there was competition for resources. And they had issues with us, and that maybe that's part of the reason why it's not just that Iblis is trying to prove in the cosmic court case against Adam alayhi salam and his progeny that we are unworthy, that we are murderous and corrupters of the land, and he's spent all this time and energy and resources with his underlings, the other shayateen, initiating the cream of the crop of humanity, those who are supposed to be our gifted leaders and our benefactors and our guides. He's been initiating them into various brotherhoods and sisterhoods, and taking possession of some of them in return for material and for power, for wealth, material wealth, spiritual benefits, and whispering in their ears and getting them, like the shayateen, to prove that humanity is murderous and corrupters of the earth. And the earth is not just the world around us, but our very flesh, corruptors of our genome, of our human genome, and of our ecosystems. He doesn't have to do these things to us. He has our elites do it to us. And he whispers in their ears in exchange for blood sacrifice. Perhaps some of them feed off of the blood energy. There's suggestion of that. So for instance, if you think about reptilian beings, most reptiles, especially serpents, as far as I know, are all carnivorous. They're all predatory creatures. Some serpents are venomous, some are constrictors, but they're all predatory. And it's kind of like they're parasites of the ecosystem. The same way a parasite would be within the human body in, say, the gut, and behave in a certain manner. Serpents act like that, but in the ecosystem, the broader, wider ecosystem. This is an interesting way of conceptualizing. And then they're almost, to take energy from others, but instead of sinking their fangs in and then sucking the blood directly as a vampire, they first absorb the creature, directly by swallowing them, and then they absorb the blood. And if they put a creature into a fear state, then it adrenalizes the blood, releases hormones, and so that's why so many predators pursue their prey and put them into a fear state to get the adrenaline going so they get high off of the drug. And this works with various predators. I think the cats get high. I think the dogs get high off of adrenalized blood, as do humans who are engaged in satanic rituals that they've learned from the shayateen, because they want us to desecrate ourselves, to deface ourselves, to humiliate ourselves. And so if someone decides to take benefit from them and to take them as friends and benefactors, then they will give something, but there's always a high price, and much higher than the human might imagine. Because see, we're destined to be caliphs of the earth. Individually and collectively, we are to come into our spiritual maturity and stand with integrity, with dignity, honoring truth most high, wise and compassionate truth most high, the guide, the Lord of all worlds, which is always truth. Falsity always fades in the light of truth. So I wanted us just to consider that there's these cluster of species that we call the jinn that might be, I'm always blown away by how confident Muslims are about information. I'm a truth seeker. I seek knowledge to the ends of the earth, even unto China. I seek knowledge all around, as should you, as should we. This is one of the reasons why I became a Muslim, is because I saw it as a knowledge-seeking, truth-seeking tradition. And I'm actually amazed by so many Muslims being so confident in what they know. They feel like they've reached the end of the path. Oh, we got it all. We're perfect. There's nothing. What's the point then? There's nothing left to learn. That's bizarre to me. It's very unhealthy. It's undignified. It's unworthy of you as a child of Adam alayhi salam, the knower of the names. You think that he just magically had the names? Now, first, they're already imprinted. They're already ingrained and programmed within us. And I've discussed this in some other videos, and we're going to go into much more detail soon, inshallah. But it's interesting because in order to know the names for yourself, you have to be a close observer, which means a reader. You observe the outer reality with your senses, with your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your nose, your skin, your nervous system. You also observe the signs within, which includes breath, body sensation, thought, memory, intuitions, intuitive imprints. So we study everything around us. We are inside a book. We are within a book somehow. We are part of a book, and we need to witness this. We witness the truth of reality, the oneness of truth, the oneness of reality that says kun, and it is. There is a divine vibration coursing through everything. So knowledge is all around us. So I went on a little tangent because I'm amazed that we have so many people that are overly confident for that which they do not possess knowledge. And just because you've memorized something or read something does not mean you know a thing. It is very important, to be warmly non-attached. We need to sift as much data about reality as possible from within and around us. And we need to use proper methodologies, the best of old and new methodologies, to sift and sort data sets. And in order to see the patterns clearly, in order to process the information and synthesize data, synthesize the knowledge in a practical, applicable manner that we can apply properly in life in a just manner. Just means it's honest, it's truthful, and in a merciful manner, compassionate, kind to ourselves and others, because Allah's creation is deeply interconnected, deeply interdependent. Everything is interwoven in a beautiful fabric of life. This is a living fabric that we are within, and much of this information is hidden all around us. And this is interesting. I've kind of gotten off track a little bit. So this video ultimately is about the jinn as a cluster of species that we may have lived alongside at one time, and some of them may have actually attempted to manipulate our DNA, and they may actually claim credit for it in the not so distant future, some of the shayateen, and try to claim that they are our gods, which is a lie. They are not our gods. They are not our lords. And they may have attempted to manipulate our DNA at some point, but that doesn't mean that they were actually successful. Or not successful in the way they think, because they plot and plan, but Allah is the best of planners. We have to consider this and consider that everything has a purpose and a plan. And it's very important for us to preserve our organic, Adamic, sacred clay, because your flesh is very sacred, and we should not allow synthetic inputs into or onto our bodies as much as possible, into our bloodstreams, into our flesh. We should not, allow our DNA to be altered or mutated as much as possible. So, and this is what I see, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam had untainted, perfect DNA. and his DNA was preserved, and his family's, and Allah wanted to preserve him from the destruction of this ancient civilization that was given to sin, that was involved, according to the ancient traditions, in hybridism, fusing, what they were calling the gods, or the watchers, or the fallen angels, or perhaps the fallen jinn, the shayateen, that somehow they had hybridized with humanity, and then led us down a path of dark magic involving vampirism, involving cannibalism in unsacred ritual contexts. And these are very interesting things to think about and to think with. And I don't think that we should just discredit these things out of hand. I know many Muslims and Christians would do so. And that's actually a shame, because you're actually throwing your inheritance away. Because this entire world and every bit of knowledge and information in it and around it is all your inheritance. We should be knowledge seekers. We should be hungry and voracious. We should have a voracious appetite for knowing who we are in our place in this world, because we are meant to be protectors, caretakers, and guides. That's the role of a caliph of the earth, and each one of us in our mature state is a caliph of the earth, and collectively we are the caliph of the earth. We are the inheritors. And so and there are righteous jinn among us. Peace be upon the righteous ones. May Allah be pleased with all of us. So, until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.